Okay, so this is the review for the test. So the test is, it's coming up pretty quick here. And this is functions. So if I have function f of x equals x squared plus 6, what have I told you to replace the x with every single time? Maybe it's just the way I'm asking the question, but
parentheses?
Parentheses. Thank you for remembering that, so that I didn't think I was crazy. Yeah, I've been trying to tell you, replace the x with a parentheses. Does it matter? It does sometimes, because it changes the order of operations. So in other words, if you had this squared with a negative in it, and you had something that didn't have the parentheses, then they'd have different answers. So yeah, it matters that you have parentheses. All right, so I've got my parentheses. And then let's have you put a few things in here. F of 2, f of x equals 10, and f of m. All right, what'd you say for f of 2? You got 10. You are correct. Now, it says f of x is 10, but that's what I just got. That's kind of weird. Well, then I go up and take this, and I don't put the 10 in the x. They didn't give me the x. They gave me the y is 10. If this is 10, weirdly, when I do the problem backwards, I get 2 answers. I know some of you thought the answer was just 2. But maybe you didn't really do the problem all the way out. Let me show you what happens if you do the problem all the way out the right way. You subtract 6, you subtract 6, you got 4 equals x squared. You square root both sides, and right here is critical. Absolute value of x equaled 2. That means 2 answers. X equals 2, x equals negative 2. There were 2 answers. Raise your hand if you hung with that and got both answers. All right, easy to forget one, isn't it? And then I asked you to do f of m. Well, then that means you stick an m in the function. Where? Well, in the parentheses. So then your answer is just m squared plus 6. Any questions so far? All right, now I'm going to throw a g of x equals 1 over x up here. That's a different function, obviously, because it's got a different letter. So tell me you're solving a math problem. Oh, are you? Are you solving a math problem? If that's what you're doing, that's fine. If you're talking about like something else, then that's not okay. One of those two. Excellent. All right, on to this. I asked, would you now try to put one function in the other? And I asked for g of f of x. And I had you think of this kind of like a fish eating another fish. The g of x fish was eating the f of x fish. So to get that answer, first you'd put 1 over x, because that's the g of x function. That's this guy. And then, since it's going to eat something, I like to put an empty parenthesis where the x is. Remember me saying that before? And then I'm going to drop in the other function. He ate the f of x function, which is this one. So that goes in there, and it's 1 over x squared plus 6. Can you drop those parentheses? Yes, because they're implied. Even if you drop them, they'll still be there. All right. Raise your hand if you had that one right. Okay, good. Now, we're going to add one last level of difficulty here. These two functions are going to stay the same. We still have the same two functions, f of x and g of x. But now I'm going to ask you to do 2 f of 3 minus g of negative 1. Now that looks really complicated, but if you do one thing at a time, it's not that bad. Find f of 3. That's not that bad. Then times it by 2. Then I'd figure out g of negative 1, and then just be careful with all those negatives. Get a final answer. The final answer is like 23. Just a number. Pause for a second while you give that one a try. All right, so f of 2. Well, that uses the f function, of course. So I recommend that you highlight this, and then you go, where's f of 2? 2's up here. That's f of 2, and where do they overlap? The answer is 1. Raise your hand if you had 1. Excellent. Okay, g of 4 then, same idea. G 4 is 10. Okay. Did they get way worse? All right, so let's get more complicated here. I'm going to use the same data, and I'm going to erase back and say, now, f of x is negative 2. Do you know how to do that? Or g of x is 10. That's kind of like the little baby step up. You're not writing anything, you make me nervous. At minimum, you can take your best guess. All right, so f of x equals negative 2. The first thing I ask you to think is, did they give you x or did they give you y? So did they give you x or did they give you y? They gave you y. Y was negative 2. Well, there's two kinds of y, the f kind and the g kind. So we have this, and they gave us the y value was negative 2, and they want to know what x that must have been. So the answer was 5. Who had 5 for that one? Okay, good. You're getting that kind. Obviously, the other one's just more practice on that. So g of x is 10. Well, here's the 10. So what was the x? It must have been a 4. Now, here's the hardest kind of them all. You ready? What if I say, I'm going to use a different letter like Q. 2f of q minus 7 just a second, I need to get an answer here that would make sense, is negative 4. There we go. 2f of q minus 7 is negative 4. And you don't know what q is. Don't try to find it. You don't know what it is. At the very end, you'll be able to solve and say, oh, I can tell now that q must be like 8 or something. So, this one's tough. It won't be that tough after you do the first step, but there's still some weirdness. So at least, do you know the first step? Raise your hand if you know the first step. What do you think? Divide by 2 on both sides. That is correct. And now I have f of q minus 7 is equal to negative 2. Now you might be going, well, I see negative 2 up there, but then it just doesn't make any sense. It's got this q. So I told you to write something underneath it that was just a truth that equaled negative 2. F of something will be negative 2. And then you can solve for q. As soon as you write the right thing here, did you figure out what that thing was?
No, sorry.
It's all right. Now let's think it through together then. You can do this. F of something is negative 2. So here's the f. F of one of these things is negative 2. So f of what is negative 2?
Oh, 5?
F of 5 is negative 2. So then that was the intermediary step. And then you can use logic to figure out what q has to be. Brady, what do you say?
12.
12 right here. Let's just check him and see if he's right. 12 minus 7 would be 5. And then f of 5 is negative 2. Q must be 12. Now, if you'd like to see how he could have shown the work on that, it would have been q minus 7 had to equal 5. Add 7 to both sides. And you'd get q equals 12. Okay. One more like that without the help. F of m minus 1 plus 7 is equal to 10. F of m minus 1 plus 7 equals 10. Pause for a sec while you give that a shot. Did you know to subtract 7 from both sides first? F of m minus 1 is 3. And then you look at the f's, and you say f of something is 3. Oh, there's an important spot. F of what is 3? Oh, f of 1 is 3. So you write that underneath. And then you ask yourself, if m minus 1 has to be 1, what does m have to be? 2 is correct. Who had 2 for your answer on that one? Good. If you don't understand why, go stick the 2 back in and see what happens. If m is 2, then f of 1 plus 7, f of 1, which is 3, plus 7 will make 10. It works. Okay. So there's so many little different parts of your test that it's really hard for me to decide what to do for practice problems that you might need help with. I've covered most of the main stuff. So now I'd like you to go look at the homework. So everybody find the homework that's posted for today. Have it up on your screen. And then I'd love to have you look at it for a few minutes. I'm going to pause for a bit while you start looking at the homework. And don't just do it in order, you know, from problem 1 to whatever. Just look it over and go, that one's easy, that one's easy. Oh, that one scares me. Question? I don't know. There's only one homework assignment, though. Why don't you compare with the kid next to you and see if you got the same up?
It's like the blue box now.
In today's folder, there is no homework.
It's the blue one instead, not the
Yeah, it's under 419. It says the test is going to be on the 20th, which is a day ahead.
So there's a second.
Yeah, there's one that says like.
I'm going to pause the video for just a second until we figure out which one of them is the homework.
You moved everything ahead a day.
All right, so I just went and looked for the recording's benefit here. I'm just repeating what I just said. And I saw that my colleagues are actually not testing tomorrow. I thought we could, and we absolutely could have, but it looks like we're testing Wednesday. So you get 2 review days, today and tomorrow, Tuesday, and the test will be Wednesday. So the homework for tonight, there's only one worksheet there. There's also all the solutions are there. That whole worksheet, I normally cut problems off, but not so much on the review day because I don't want to be the person who cut off a problem that would have really helped you do well on the test. So we do the whole review worksheet, but you got 2 nights to do it. I recommend you do it all tonight, and tomorrow we'll take a practice test, and that's all I have for the video for today.